found the GroomPod. Welcome to our virtual salon. My name is Susie, and I'm your host. I'm a mobile groomer from Seattle, Washington, and anybody who knows me will tell you I love to talk, especially about my job. And one of my favorite people to talk to is my friend and mentor and the co-star of this show, the curator of ingredients, Miss Barbara Bird.
Oh, Susie, I'm so excited to be here today. I have to issue a safety notice. So let's get into it. I can't wait to share all this information with you.
I'm excited to hear all about it. This is new stuff to me. Plus, I have some updates. Buckle in, you guys. Welcome to episode 433 of the GroomPod, recorded on December 31st, New Year's Eve, 2024, in Snohomish, Washington, and Greenville, South Carolina. This podcast is brought to you by our kind sponsors, Show Season, Best Shot, Precision Sharp, Groomore, and Stasco. And if you would like to tip us or support the show, you can do so at thegroompod.com, where you'll find the donation button and the Patreon button. This week, we're going to talk about specializing to stand out. What's new is brought to you by Groomore Software. If you haven't found Groomore, you're missing out. Groomore is an all-in-one software solution for your grooming business. Whether you are a solo mobile groomer or manage several shops, Groomore has everything you need. 24-hour online booking and forms, routing, credit card processing, reminders, Google Calendar and QuickBooks integration, and so much more. And the best customer service anywhere. Shop mobile or house call, Groomore has you covered. And they're giving us a free month. Just enter GroomPod22 in the coupon code. Oh, Barbara, 2025, as we head into our 10th season of the podcast, I was thinking about things we can do to make it more exciting and keep it fresh and move forward. So this year, I think we should be more interactive, especially on Facebook, but also with our Patreon people. And I was thinking that we could do some what we call sit-ins, I don't know who's in my pocket, what I call a sit-in, which is where we let the groomers who support us on Patreon join us for just a sit down and chat and visit and ask questions and have us there in person, special for the people on Patreon. So what do you think of that? Does that sound like something you might be willing to do?
I'd be willing to do it. I would love to do that.
I think it'd be really cool. And our Facebook page, we're going to try to bring you guys into the show a little bit more actively. I also want to continue to have guests on. I like having guests on. I like them to talk about something that they are experts in. I'd like to come up with a question that we're discussing during our show and then invite someone on we know as an expert and try to get that information out of them. So that's what I think we should do. Are you good with all that?
Listen, great minds think alike. I have been thinking, in fact, I've made a New Year's resolution to be more interactive on the Facebook page in the role of facilitator, as well as being kind of an expert in my own ingredient way, science-minded way.
You are both a science slut and an ingredient guru, so that's perfect.
Well, those two are very hooked up, I'll tell you. But I'm also 55 years of experience and 45 years of having my own place, and all of that kind of adds up into being a fucking know-it-all.
And that's why we have the show. It's because we are aged people who have some background and some history and some experience, and we just like talking about it. And I love that about us. I think it's very cool. I have an update. I have a couple updates. One of them is that drying the trailer out overnight with the heater, it made a huge difference.
Oh, I was going to ask you if that is helping you at all.
So much. Not to mention, it makes it a little nicer in there. There's definitely less condensation on my tools. You can visually see there's less on the ceiling. It's just better in there. If I start with less saturated environment, I think I'm just that much better off. And it's true, I haven't done a lot of big dogs. Well, I did one yesterday. That's another update. The thing I wanted to share is after reading through your article, which I'll post, I realized that I'm not utilizing heat enough. And even in the colder weather, my canine too is not heating up because it's outside. Basically, it's in a cabinet and it's chilly out there. So it doesn't get as warm as it does in the summer. So that is not helping me evaporate stuff. So a few months ago, probably 6 months ago, I went on Amazon and I bought a replacement handheld dryer. Happened to be a human dryer. About $50, depending on whether you get it on sale or not. It's one of those you can find on AliExpress, or at least one that looks just like it. I didn't realize what it looks like is a Dyson dryer, very similar to the handheld Dyson dryer that has a really long handle shaft. I'm making.
She's making an obscene hand gesture, people.
I'm sorry,
I'm
please.
cracking up about it because she realizes she looks like she's jacking off something long, really long.
What's funny is I'm watching myself on Zoom because we see each other, and I'm watching the action and realizing what I'm doing as it's happening. Anyway,
you're naughty.
I've tried 3 or 4 different Sally Beauty, Target, Amazon dryers, and none of them really have been like the Andis dryer that blew up and they replaced and then the cord died, and I don't want to buy another one of those. It's not holding up to my throw it in the closet and drive around with it kind of a life. So I bought this thing, and lo and behold, it gets pretty hot. Not so hot that you're going to burn, but it dries the dogs, especially the small ones, really quickly, almost quicker than my canine too. So I decided to look back at it and try to figure out why, and I think I know why. It's called the 7 Magic High-Speed Dryer, and it has a very, very fast motor, RPMs, 110,000 RPM motor. So it spins really, really fast. It's 1,400 watts, which is smaller than a lot of them that I've bought, but it's 22 meters per second airflow. It is twice as much airflow as you get in a normal dryer, and they call it a high-speed dryer, and I didn't think that was a big deal, but now I can see it's a huge deal. This handheld dryer is way better than the Andis dryer, way better than the Yellowbird dryer. I really recommend taking a look at this. The other thing that I find interesting is the nozzle attaches with a magnet, and so does the filter. And the filter is there I go again.
Such a long shaft you have there, honey.
The filter is down where the balls would be on the bottom of the shaft.
She can't even talk. She's cracking up so much.
It's down there at the bottom. It attaches with a magnet, and it stays way out of the hair area. It's really easy to clean. It just slides down. You clean it off, and it slides back up. Much more easy to maintain. I love this.
I'm excited. Are you going to post a link?
I will. I really enjoy using it. I'm so surprised on anything Shih Tzu size or smaller. It dries faster than a canine too because of the heat aspect. And it has 3 heat settings and 2 speed settings. You put it on the really warm and you keep it back far enough, and you can do the heads really easily because it just blows and moves the hair nicely. And then you put it on medium and you do some of the more sensitive areas like in the ears and not in the ears, like the ears and under the belly and stuff like that. It's really cool. So I wanted to share that with everybody. And the other thing that happened is I got to see one of the 2 doodles.
Yeah.
He's massive, but doggone it, he's the nicest dog ever. I love him.
Who says doggone it?
I do. Hey, I'm an 1890s prospector. What can I say? He has hair like an old English sheepdoodle, like very soft but coarse, really nice, doesn't tangle. Plus, I know they maintain, like, we had a huge discussion about which brush to use, which brush not to use. They brought out a rake, one of those with all the blades in it. And I went, no, 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 put that away. He
Oh,
doesn't
no.
even have any kind of hair that needs that. Put that away. And she said, well, I've just been using my hairbrush, a vented pin brush. And I went, yes, use that. Besides, it'll never be long enough. You're going to have to worry about it because you guys always keep on a schedule. So it was really fun. And I got to talk behavior. He surfs the countertop. So we talked about that. I got to use some of my behavior stuff. And anyway, I just thought I'd share it. He's adorable. I fell in love instantly. And that's that. I'm hooked. Just that one.
Adorable and enormous.
He is. He has big lab feet and a huge lab tail. And then really nice hair with no mats and a personality that is just standard poodle. Smart, silly, sense of humor. He does what you ask. He's a good guy. He's goofy.
Well, that's great. I think there are some really great doodles out there, and I get dismayed with all of the shade that's thrown their way because it can be a very nice combination. I would own one in a flash. And my neighbor across the street is a little old lady. Eventually, I'll get to meet her, and she has a red golden doodle that's really pretty and well behaved. So I'm going to get to meet those. Well groomed. I noticed right away that it was well groomed. Some of the doodles that I've groomed have been my favorite dogs of all times.
He's beautiful and jet black with just a few white hairs and weird spots. Not really actually white spots, just some random white hairs and areas. He's cool. I'm happy to have him. And what's going on with you? You have announcements to make, stuff going on.
I have an announcement to make because today I discovered something about an ingredient that is common to us, a common medicated shampoo ingredient that's chlorhexidine glutamate. We see it in a lot of all-purpose medicated shampoo offerings. I learned today that chlorhexidine is both a contact irritant and a contact allergen.
Oh.
So this is what Google Gemini told me. Chlorhexidine can cause irritant dermatitis. This occurs when chlorhexidine directly irritates the skin, resulting in dry, scaly, rough skin, and sometimes weeping sores. Chlorhexidine can cause allergic contact dermatitis. This occurs when the immune system responds to chlorhexidine, usually 12 to 48 hours after exposure. Symptoms are similar to irritant dermatitis, but allergic contact dermatitis involves an immune response. Chlorhexidine can actually cause serious allergic reactions. The FDA has warned that rare but serious allergic reactions have been reported with chlorhexidine containing products. These reactions can include difficulty breathing, hives, itchy skin, rash, stomach upset, or swelling of the face or throat. So the FDA goes on to say patients and consumers should stop using the product that contains chlorhexidine glutamate and seek medical attention immediately or call 911 if they experience symptoms of a serious allergic reactions. These reactions can occur within minutes of exposure. Symptoms include wheezing or difficulty breathing, swelling of the face, hives that can quickly progress to more serious symptoms, severe rash, or shock, which is a life-threatening condition that occurs when the body is not getting enough blood flow. So why hasn't someone told us this?
It's in almost every general purpose medicated shampoo.
Yeah, it's out there a lot. The good news is that the serious allergic reaction is rare. Nonetheless, groomers should know that there's a risk. And you should know if you're an employer, if you're a boss, you need to know because of probably not going to have a death threatening allergic reaction for the animal, but you might have for the people who are bathing and using this product. It's my serious concern that by casual use of chlorhexidine medicated shampoo, some groomers use it on every dog as a preventative. And that's the where the risk is just accumulating is for the people who are being exposed to shampooing in that stuff one right after the other because the number of exposures increases the likelihood of allergic reaction. I seriously recommend that bathers using chlorhexidine products use protective gloves.
Ah, yes.
I think this is serious news because the serious reactions are rare. The entire details have been not shared with us. Why is it just now that I'm finding out it can be an irritant too? You just don't want to use chlorhexidine on a broken skin.
Yours or the dog's.
Yeah, now I just ran into this information because I snooped around. You know what actually happened is that the coat defense people named chlorhexidine as a shampoo that you should avoid using or stop using if you're going to use their product because it was an allergen. They named several things that were allergens. And I thought, what is chlorhexidine an allergen, a contact allergen? And I asked Gemini, and Gemini just said, yes, it is. And not only that, it can be either irritant dermatitis or allergic contact dermatitis. So let's phase it out, folks.
It seems to me that it used to be mostly recommended in vet shampoos that were given to the clients and brought to us. And then all of a sudden, in the last 5 or 10 years, it showed up in a lot of over the counter use grooming products. Not necessarily public use, but professional use for us. And we found that it worked pretty well. Just like we're finding the Duoxo, the Ophytrium, works really well now. Is that what's going to happen with that? Is we're all going to start using the Duoxo and then we're going to get sensitive to that?
Well, who knows? Because the truth is that the more popular an ingredient gets, the more it's used, more widely spread use, then you're likely to get more complaints of reactions. The unfortunate truth for the pet grooming industry is that we have no place to report bad reactions. And groomers are just on their own trying to figure out what caused a problem. They're not very likely to pick a medicated shampoo that's supposed to fix or help the skin and the problem as being the cause of a problem. Just the therapeutic assumption,
Dichotomy there.
a little dichotomy. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, I'm just going to say, might be time to set that stuff aside, find another means.
Thank you for sharing that with us. It's an important fact.
Yeah, I'm going to put it up on the GroomPod right away and share it around because something what we really need to know for the pets, but also for the person who's bathing.
Yeah, for us. Anything else? Is that it for the new year? I think so. Let's good. Like, should we go to the first appointment?
Alrighty. Who says alrighty? I do.
The same person who says doggone it. Did you know that Stasco has come out with a couple of new products? First, there's the Stasco Oatmeal Protein Conditioner. This conditioner provides exceptional body and manageability and super shiny finishes. And it has a wonderful apple scent that I love. Great in the recirculator, too. And they have a new matching protein conditioning spray, dematting, anti-static conditioning, and finishing all in one, just like the original Stasco spray, but with that delicious apple fragrance. Look for these new products at trade shows and your favorite distributors like Cascade Grooming Supplies. Ready, groomers? Here comes our first appointment. I knew early that I would never be more than just an adequate scissor. So I searched for ways to make myself stand out in a world of artists, which is a challenge. You have to be a little bit creative. I worked at a medium-sized vet hospital, and I spent many years doing the dogs that the doctors sent to me. And I realized that I really enjoyed the special needs dogs, the ones that didn't like the process of grooming. And I got a reputation. Not a bad reputation, a good reputation for being gentle and having a real touch with these special need pets. And through no fault of my own, it became my specialty. And I'm lucky enough to have been able to continue my education with the Master Groomer Behavior Specialist program with Chrissy Newmeyer Smith at Whole Pet Grooming Academy. So there was actual direction and focus and classes I could take with my specialty, but it's not always the case. The bigger thing was I knew that it was a good spot for me because most of the people who have dogs that have a difficult time with the process aren't so interested in a sculpted haircut. You get the occasional one, but for the most part, they're happy to have their dogs done and still like the groomer. I like that part too. So, Barbara, what were your specialties, your areas of expertise that may have come into play as you went through your grooming career?
It kind of grew and changed. So, one of the first specialties that I claimed was Bichon grooming. And that was in the days where most groomers didn't really know how to groom Bichons at all. They just did sort of semi poodle cuts on them and didn't get the Bichon look. So I specialized in Bichons for a long time until I got so many Bichons that it made for difficult days because Bichons can take a little bit longer than other dogs because of their coat and because you want to keep it fluffy and because of the scissoring involved in getting the head right and all of that kind of stuff. So they can be time consuming dogs, and they have four of them in one day was bogging me down. So I said, oh, I think I'll shift and call myself a terrier specialist because I learned to groom on terriers and then cocker spaniels. I learned to groom on schnauzers and then cockers and then other breeds. So I was always, because I learned to groom by breed profiles, I was always a kind of breed profile specialist, even though I wasn't as good when I first started out as I then became by continuing my education. I know I used to do Scotty so they looked like they had chaps. One customer called me out about it before she left me, and I was very offended. But later, I realized that she was telling me the truth. I pursued the terrier breed profiles, and then when I went on to get a certification, I got more breed profile information, and especially sporting breeds were kind of we didn't have very many sporting breeds show up in Tucson. I don't know, it's not kind of an Irish setter sort of an environment, too much stickers, I guess. Here's another thing: even before I was a Bichon specialist, I advertised myself as a chow chow specialist.
What?
I did that.
Oh my gosh.
You know what? I had a way with that breed. And just no eye contact and just firm but gentle. And I sometimes, if I was a little weary, I'd have the owner stay and actually put their hands on the dog while I had my hands on the dog. And I think the dog kind of puts together the touch. In other words, your touch becomes more associated with the owner's touch. Then when you remove the owner's touch, they recognize your touch. So that's just a little sneaky little trick that I learned. And there was a time in Tucson where chows were like what pit bulls are now. Everybody that wanted to be tough had one, and everybody that wanted a scary watchdog had one. Although the one chow that I owned, she used to run outside and hide in the bushes when anybody came, especially if I wasn't there. She was a real, what you might call, pussycat.
A scaredy chow.
She was a sweet child. She was very, her name was Shibaloo. And it was through getting to know her that I became more accepting overall with chow chows. And I claimed that specialty for quite a while until it got old and I got tired of doing it. I mean, I still would do them, but I didn't ask for them after a while because I found I could do other things. I've always thought that de-shedding and double coated breeds could be a specialty, and maybe not for a standalone groomer, but certainly for a bather who can then take on, because the trimming and the finishing that you might do on those breeds, you can easily be taught that. And you can then become a specialist, and your boss, then your employer, can become a place where the people can, when I started grooming, there wasn't a concept of de-shedding. And I actually, well, that's another story. I think I started the idea because I used it in an advertisement back in the 70s.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I really think that it was my advertising de-shedding because I thought of it myself. I didn't pick it up from any place. It was just my own thinking. And I was so surprised when other people started using that term. And I thought, hey, it's not my term. But, give it away. What the hell?
Starting the new year, we posted a question on Facebook about this. What is your specialty? What sets you apart? Because a specialty does set you apart. And the reality of it is there are many, many, many ways to make yourself special. Whether it's your grooming facility, like a mobile groomer who comes to the house, or a shop that has one-on-one service, to the kind of grooming you do, like Barbara doing the Bichons and the Terriers, or me doing dogs that have a difficult time with the process, to coloring and having fun treats and deeming at every grooming appointment. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. So here are some of the ways that our listeners came up with, and we'll just talk about those now. So Alyssa Marie says she caters mostly to senior dogs and brings them comfort from their homes in their final years. That's a good way to go. That kind of falls under my purview of dogs that have a difficult time with the process. Dogs that are senior definitely need some special consideration. They need more time, and you need to be in a place where you have the ability to take your time.
I used to call myself a puppy specialist.
Who wouldn't want that?
And that's because I liked to be the first one that taught the puppy about grooming. I like to be the first experience because I knew I had patience. I knew I had some skill in settling them down. And I actually liked both sides of the life spectrum, doing very old and doing very young first timers. In fact, I used to offer a special service that was the puppy get acquainted visit. And it was like 15, 20 minutes. They'd bring the puppy in, they'd leave it with me and go sit outside. And I would go through the motions of the brush, the comb. Here's what the clippers are going to sound like. going to want you to stand up, and I'm going to put this strap around your butt so you will, and treats, and what a good puppy, and like that, and just make it a nice orientation for the puppy. And I would charge $20 or something like that. I was very proud of that service. And I haven't ever seen anybody else just name it as a service, puppy's first visit, puppy orientation, whatever you want to call it.
A catchy name is a good way to get people's attention if you can find a way to incorporate what you specialize in your catchy name or the name of your services.
Yeah, that the problem with some of these specialties is that it makes it like breed profile. Breed profile grooming is really hard to market because pet owners don't really understand what you mean by that.
Yeah.
And if you go into too much explanation, it just gets blah, blah, blah.
You got to make it catchy.
I always found it really hard to put that into words for a Yellow Pages ad, which is what we had in the beginning only, and or on a website. How do you capture breed profiles? And if you talk proper, you sound like a fucking snob.
Or you say something like, do the right groom on your dog, then you're insulting everybody else.
It became easier after the TV dog shows became popular.
Sure.
Because then people kind of recognize, but it's important to be able to distinguish between breed profile styling and show grooming for show, which is very, very different.
Yeah.
And certainly grooming for show is another specialty that can really work for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where some of my terrier work came in, because I could get people started in the show ring, and then they would either get good at grooming themselves or they would turn the dog over to a handler who would take it up several notches. Excuse me, I'm only a pet groomer. And then I would get offended, but I would know why. Then I would go to the dog show. I used to go to the dog shows every year so that I could train my eye to see the breed profile and see how the dogs are presented at show, and then figure out how to do a shorter, more easier to care for adaptation of that. And that was a specialty that worked well. But as I say, it was hard to market that, because how do you say all that in one sentence or 5 words?
Yes.
Best ever. I used to.
Number one dog groomer. So you can get at the top of the list. So another one is just doing dog baths. And as a mobile dog bather, you'd be busy forever. I have a friend who does that. Or pedicures. Pedicures, doing nails in simple, tidy butt and belly or tidy face and ears and nails. You could make a whole living out of just doing mobile nails. So that's another way to do it. Laura Mori says, I'm much like you, Susie, and I specialize in behavior-led grooming and consent grooming.
I always laugh when I hear consent grooming, because I have a Maltese that doesn't consent. I want to throw Marco at him and say, okay, consent this. Like, not be too perfect on my own dog because he's so resistive. Like, well, he's funny because you can do the back end of him from the waist down forever. You could fuss around with his tail and fuss around with his back legs. But as soon as you get above the waist, he starts to take away the consent. No, I don't consent to that. No, you're not going to touch my face. No, you're not going to touch my front feet. What do you mean you're going to comb my front legs?
I watched a cheetah go into a 3/4 sided cage and wait there for her insulin shot. All volunteer. If you make a cheetah do that, that's pretty impressive. So I'm sure that if if I had Marco for a few years, maybe 5 or 6, I might be able to do it.
Ashley Hanby is close by, and she keeps saying she'll give it a try someday. But
Oh, I think that would be fun. And then she could come on the podcast and
yeah,
talk about it.
she would. I'll entice her with a podcast review of her experience in grooming Marco.
I like it. So, Laura also said that if she can get the dogs looking good, then it's always a bonus. Dana Chavez Ray, who also has been a guest on our show, she says, I groom cats. That's true. Her specialty is cats, and that's a whole nother area. And there's certainly plenty that enjoy that specialty. I enjoy doing cats for sure. Anita Clock says, my goal is proper tailored skin care per pup who comes in for their service. Included in the price, educate on what the pet parent can do at home if it's not in their budget for more frequent visits. I am also of the mind of quality over quantity, low volume, calm and relaxing environment. Kelly Sanford says, I live with border collies and thoroughbreds, so I specialize in sensitive, quirky, nervous critters. I'm finding also that the owners of dogs with motion sickness really like the mobile option. Boy, that's true. There's a way to market that. Jessica Parsons, certified canine esthetician and offering coloring services as well. My salon is a little more upscale looking and feeling than others around me, and that's a definite niche. I'm also the only one in my area that's a member of my state professional pet groomers association. In 2025, I'm hoping to get pet first aid and CPR certification as well, and that will be the only shop in my area with that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the option of becoming more expertise in handling emergencies.
So our dear friend Daryl Connor says, we groom one-on-one and invite the owners to wait. Most pets are done in an hour. Hot beverages and homemade confections available most days. We also groom cats, offer hand stripping, and will groom dogs after everyone else is fired due to bad attitudes. I love that. I think that's great. A really nice niche to have. I like the warm beverages and confections part.
I always kept treats for people at the counter, just like I had treats for the dogs. And I had certain customers that would always take one or two candies. I would, usually have good chocolate stuff.
I'm a fan.
The treats for people is a good thing.
Yes.
It just says that you care about them too.
Yes, and it's very appreciated for those of us who enjoy treats. My vet that I worked at the longest, he had fresh baked cookies every morning out in the waiting area, and they were delicious. Plus, there was cookie dough in the refrigerator, and I knew where it was, so I would go in there and eat the cookie dough, which is my favorite kind of cookie. Tammy Vornbrock, wow, I just realized I don't know how to say Tammy's last name. I hope that's right. She's a hand stripper, and that is quite a market.
I did hand stripping, but I didn't push the outreach. I let them find me by word of mouth mostly, because hand stripping is hard on you. As you know, I maintained a strong commitment to hand stripping throughout my career. And I got better and better at it, pretty much just self taught. The reason that I was able to keep it up in my 60s, 70s, and 80s was that I would train my bathers to strip the bodies and the legs, and I would nail the breed profile and the heads and the tails so that I didn't have to do the entire dog pulling everything. So I just had to fix it up and finish it off. That worked really well. And the people that I taught how to hand strip really appreciated it. But what I found about hand stripping is that the customer relations can be very tricky because it's hard to create the realistic expectations of the owners and have them bring the dogs in more regularly. They want to do once or twice a year always, which is massively more work than maintaining a coat. And it's hard to really explain the nuances of hand stripping to a pet owner. It just doesn't come out right every time. So it's an ongoing educational effort on the groomer's part. You have to be committed to communicating with the people. It's not always easy to do that.
Our friend Alex L. She says, I work with small, overexcited, and fearful, aggressive dogs. I also groom show bichons, maintain and restore double coats, and have great finishing skills. And she certainly does that.
He certainly does, yeah.
Heather Bloomquist says, I work hard at learning breed profiles, carding of sporting breeds, but I also work a lot with senior pets. I'm also a certified canine esthetician and teach pet tech, CPR, and first aid. All of my groomers are CPR and first aid certified as well. And I soon will be CPR and first aid certified with Heather because I'm going to take a class from her in the end of February. And there's going to be 2 classes offered at Cascade Grooming Supply. One of them's in January, one of them's in February. Reach out either to me or to Heather Bloomquist if you'd like to join up with any of those.
I think that's great.
Katie Konoposki says, I like to throw in some Asian fusion inspiration sometimes and also corrective grooming for every dog that I can, as in base their haircut off of their actual structure.
I actually started grooming outside the box on the Bichons at the end of my grooming life. I think I have to admit that it looks like I'm permanently retired.
From grooming, but not from learning and not from talking and not from
But
writing.
this was another a part of my journey with Bichons was that I worked for really for years to nail down the proper Bichon head and the proper profile. And I pretty much got it and I taught it and demonstrated it and loved it for many years. And then I got tired of grooming in the box. I had to make every Bichon look like this. And so I started watching some videos on YouTube and got interested in the kind of Asian grooming and made up my own little pet head for the bichons that really worked for bichons that needed to be groomed shorter, older dogs, and or whatever, and it looked really cute and still very bichon, even though it wasn't the proper bichon head. I was able to make it cute and shorter and smaller. So I started grooming outside the box, and then that kind of became a specialty. Although I didn't advertise it, I just got good word of mouth.
You could advertise it as adorable pet clips.
I used to call myself the queen of cute.
You've had so many names in your career. I love it. Erin Hewland says, I do creative grooming, not just color on tails and ears, but coat carving, designs, and characters in the fur, and then color it with chalk or dye. Very cool. But boy, you better price that right.
Right on.
Courtney Patrick says, I'm doing certifications through IPG. I'm CPR certified, and now I'm pursuing becoming a teacher for CPR and first aid. So she's going with the letters. And I got letters. I got a couple set of letters. You got letters.
Yeah, letters.
Letters are cool. And if you educate people on what they are, that's even better.
Yeah, I put my ICMG on my license plate for several years, and only one person ever asked me what that stood for because I thought it was going to stimulate a bunch of questions and I would be then have an opening for telling people that I certified, but only one person. I mean, and the car was parked right beside the shop with the back end sticking out, so you couldn't miss it.
Whatever version of letters you might have, if you don't let people know what they are, they don't help you a lot, except for personally. Maria Hedem says, hand scissoring, hand stripping, carding, and correct breed profiles. Really cute personality trims and mixed breeds. Professional and friendly, outstanding customer service. That's been my key to success for over 40 years. And I've got to say, customer service is a big part of my success as well.
Yeah, and me as well.
Barbara says, you have described how I would like to see myself. And Barbara, she has described how I see you. So I guess mission accomplished. Maria says, Barbara Bird, you have been my role model for years. Now, if I knew more about essential oils and ingredients, 40 something years and I'm still learning. Hope to see you soon. Amy Henderson Gano says, behavior dogs. Did take the Master Groomer Behavior course, coloring, canine skin esthetician, and one-on-one grooming. So she's a master groomer behavior specialist too, just like me. Carla Freestop says, I used to offer hand stripping and did a fair bit, but my hands can't take it anymore. I am one of the few groomers in my city that does cats, and I love grooming cats, so I often get referrals. My specialty seems to be working with dogs that other groomers can't handle. The old, the frail dogs, the special needs cases, the over-enthusiastic dogs. I do not advertise this specialty.
So I also groomed cats for quite a while, but there became a point. Well, yeah, I remember what happened is that Yvonne would never help me, but she would not help me groom customers' cats. And I always had people stay with their cat because I discovered that cats, well, were less likely to freak out if their respected adult was there beside the table, maybe not even doing much of anything, but just there. And I would give them gloves, and I had gloves and all of this. I just reached a point where I was not excited about doing it anymore. I was too worried about getting hurt and not being clever enough. So I just let it go.
Virginia Beth says, I'm a certified canine esthetician and provide one on one grooming. And there's a fair lot of those certified canine estheticians.
I am. I'm a certified canine esthetician.
That's good. That's really getting out there. I wish the behavior stuff would get out there as well as the skin and hair coat care is getting out there.
I'm glad to see that the CPR stuff is getting out there. You know, that much response for that one specialty is really encouraging.
And I think I would, as a pet parent, be inclined to choose a place that had that on their window or advertise that they were CPR certified as my pet aged. I think that's a great way to go. So Cheryl Wood said she's a holistic house call cat groomer. And Barbara asks, do you think most cats are better behaved being groomed in their own home space? And Cheryl says, yes, I do. There are some that are fine being outside their home, but in general, the majority derive security from their known home and stress when removed. A tucked up cat isn't a good cat, as many groomers think. It's a stressed cat, and many exhibit stress effects for a few days afterwards. They also benefit from the owner being present, just like Barbara said, if stressed by an unfamiliar person. The type that doesn't do well is the extreme territorial cat. That makes sense.
I had a customer one time come into the shop and she had a dog that nobody could groom. And I had her bring the dog in and I couldn't groom it either. But I offered to go to the home and do the dog there. And she said, oh no, I cannot have somebody do that to him on his own private palace. You know,
What?
like, oh God, well, there's the source of the problem. It's the difference between an owner who says to the puppy, look, this is going to be a part of your life forever, so we're combing you now. And someone who says, oh, honey, I wouldn't do that if you don't want me to. Like, some owners just really preset their pets, dogs and cats, to hate grooming.
It's true.
I had to laugh. I was offering her this special service of leaving my salon and doing her dog in her home to see if we couldn't get it done there. And oh, well, anyway.
Anyway, Laura Savello Hearn says seniors and special needs. I'd rather groom 10 senile dogs with one eye and rotting teeth holding on by a whisker than one single wiggly puppy. That makes me laugh. I need puppies and seniors. I need them both. Gotta have them both.
Both ends of the spectrum.
Michelle Knowles says therapeutics and behavior. Therapeutics and behavior is one of those popular ones.
And Michelle Knowles is a holistic therapeutics expert, just really the man in that area.
Dawn Vaughn. Hey, I just noticed her name rhymes. Dawn Vaughn. I am true one-on-one salon that specializes in dogs with behavioral issues, as well as one of the few certified canine estheticians on island, as well as hand-scissored finishes with 30 years in the business. Jane Hay Shaban says, I've been breeding and showing and grooming Westies for 30 years. More than half of my clientele are Westie owners that drive over an hour to come see me. I find learning to do a specific breed profiles has attracted many other terrier clients. My mentor taught me years ago, a cute face and clean feet is the ticket to a good client following. Kelly Haltman says, one-on-one grooming and in-home salon. I unintentionally have become the local D-Shed groomer in my area. I basically groom doodles and D-Sheds, and I love it. Kelly Cecilio says, I breed and show Bedlington Terriers. So there's another breed specialist, specific breed specialist. So I'm one of the only few groomers in my area that can groom one correctly. By extension, I am a terrier specialist and overall skilled at breed standard grooming. I hand strip too and can hand scissor well. I'm also fear-free trained and certified and work at a fear-free certified clinic. So I have a lot of experience working with behavior cases. Ashley Stribling says, I'm one-on-one straight through and the owner is welcome to stay and watch if they want. I specialize in training dogs to be good for grooming, so she's another behavior specialist. I have been showing and training and breeding since I was 9, so I'm really good at training, behavior, and reading the dog. It helps a lot with rescue dogs and puppies as well as rehabilitation for behavior cases that others kicked out. Since I have shown and bred Shelties since I was 9, as well as many other breeds which include Belgian Malinois, I excel with double coats, de-shedding, or scissor clips. And I do a lot of senior dogs as well as finding my patience and understanding help the most with them. I have fibromyalgia, so I understand everything hurting and do my best to help him. Woo! That was a topic.
We really exploded the GroomPod with that question.
We ignited the listening audience, which is very exciting. And of course, that's what we hope to do every week. And we'll do it again next week. We'll be covering a really exciting topic, which is coat defense.
Yeah, coat defense is a truly natural, simple 5 ingredients for their powders, 5 basic ingredients. And their shampoo is unique too. It's also on the more natural side, but the powders are totally, truly all natural. And I'm excited to review that with you next week.
Next week. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. If you have anything you want us to do this year, anything you would like us to focus on, let us know at our discussion group, facebook.com/group/the GroomPod. And happy grooming, everyone. See you next time on the GroomPod. Bye-bye now.
Take care of yourselves because we love you.